Good morning, Grace Center. Kristine here with your thought of the day. I don't know about you, but some of the things that have been portrayed over the media and the social media sometimes feels overwhelming. You know, there's scary things. I'm oftentimes left feeling hopeless. And if there was ever a time to see things through God's perspective, it's now. So I would love to talk to you about a skill known as having God sight. So having God sight, it just refers to seeing some of what God sees when He looks at people and situations. So a lot of times, especially now, I'm like, Lord, I'm probably not seeing this accurately. Would you show me what it is you're seeing? You know, when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, their eyes were open to the possibility of not seeing things accurately, right? Now all of our eyes are open to having the ability to see things from a fleshly perspective, apart from knowing what it is God knows. Doesn't always work out that great when we're seeing things from a fleshly perspective. You know, a lot of times it's like, I think I know the right way we should be doing this, and why isn't everybody doing it my way? And you'll typically know when you don't have God's perspective because there's lots of energy behind it. And oftentimes the fruit, let's call it having false God sight, the fruit behind that is condemnation and judgment and separation, because a lot of times in that space, I'm more interested in being right than I am in maintaining relationship. Saul, before he became Apostle Paul, is a perfect example of someone who was operating in false God sight. Think about it. He was persecuting everybody that followed Jesus because he firmly believed Jesus was a blasphemer and a false teacher. And God, in His mercy, allowed his spiritual blindness to literally manifest as physical blindness. And then we know that's when he encountered Jesus and his eyes were opened. So I'd love to even read what he has to say about seeing things through God's eyes. So I'm going to be reading from the Passion Translation, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 16, but I'm going to start at verse 14 because it really captures Paul's heart for reconciliation. For it is Christ's love that fuels our passion and motivates us, because we are absolutely convinced that He has given His life for all of us. This means all died with Him, so that those who live should no longer live self-absorbed lives, but lives that are poured out for Him, the one who died for us and now lives again. So then, from now on, we have a new perspective that refuses to evaluate people merely by their outward appearances. For that's how we once viewed the Anointed One, but no longer do we see Him with limited human insight. Isn't that amazing that Paul is the one writing this, because he experienced this firsthand. So he's saying it is possible now for us to see things through the Spirit. We don't see things according to the flesh. We see things according to the Spirit. And so one of the ways that we can encounter having God's perspective is we first have to acknowledge that we have a false perspective, which looks like we get to humble ourselves. Lord, I'm probably blind. I think I'm blind in this area. Would you show me what it is, how you see this person, how you see this situation? And then again, surrounding ourselves with a community, asking them for help to help point out our blind spots. That's another way by which we can position ourselves to be able to have God's sight. And when we have God's sight, it's amazing because the fruit of God's sight is often repentance, it's intercession, it's restoration. It's always full of peace because we've just had an encounter with the Prince of Peace. And we know that He's love. And so a lot of times the fear that I'm feeling, when I have God's perspective, the fear leaves because I've just had an encounter with His perspective of love. And so I pray for you today, Grace Center. I hope that thought is helpful. In fact, I pray, Lord, that we would just receive your grace to humble ourselves, to ask for your help, so that we can have your perspective and accurately represent your heart to all, as well as to ourselves. And so, love you, miss you guys, can't wait to be together soon.